It's a new day, and that means new stories from Ocean Story. Let's begin. I started dating my girlfriend Addison a year ago. We've known each other for a long time, but we never thought we'd be in a relationship. I'm currently working as a lawyer and making good money. Addison also works, but doesn't have the same income. She and I have a certain conflict. Addison thinks that I am the man in the family, so I have to take care of her needs. My girlfriend does not want to spend her money on family needs. Addison says that it is not a woman's job to buy a set of tools for the house, or that she should not pay the utility bills. Addison spends all the money she earns only on herself. She buys different clothes and a lot of cosmetics. During the 3 months of living with Addison, she has bought only a few things for our house. Addison scolded me later for this, saying that I should be more responsible and not ask her to buy things. This behavior always annoyed me, because I think that within a family it is normal for everyone to be ready to buy something if needed, or to be ready to pay for utilities. All my friends who are married live like this and have no problems, but my girlfriend finds it hard to prove that Addison should also invest some of its money in our family. I decided to talk to Addison about it that week because I got my paycheck and she had already planned it in her own way. Basically, my money is spent on everything but me. I get about $6,000 or $10,000 a month. Addison does not contribute to this amount. I pay for utilities, buy us food, and save for the wedding with this money. After everything is planned for the new month, I have less than $1,000 left for my own needs. I need to buy some clothes for the new season, or have money to drink coffee, or go to a cafe with my friends. The picture is that I earn a good amount of money, but I can't spend much on myself. When I started talking to Addison, she immediately turned on the indifferent person mode and told me, "You and I have talked about our money many times. You know very well that I need a lot of cosmetics and things to complement my beauty, so I can't allocate my own money so that you can have more money for fun." I told her, "Addison, I practically spend all my money for us, and you are not ready to give $1 from your salary. I can't cover all our needs all the time." Addison said, "If you can't provide for everything, you should find a way to get more money." I got angry and ended our conversation with Addison there. I told my sister Aubrey about this story. She condemned my fiancé's actions because Addison is blatantly taking advantage of me. It's hard for me to deny that, even though I love Addison. I'm sick of her behavior. My sister said that it would be better for me if I talked to Addison and made her invest in our family. If she doesn't agree, I should leave Addison. Until our relationship went so far, and Addison got all the way around my neck. I agree with my sister, but I don't want to leave Addison. My sister said, "If you don't talk to Addison, I'm going to call her and tell her what a jerk she is." I decided to listen to my sister and started talking to Addison again about our budget. I set conditions for my girlfriend. Addison did not agree that she should give her money to the family. After that, I told her, "If you are not ready to invest in our family, we shouldn't even think about getting married." Addison thought I wanted to use her as a bank. She said, "If that's what you think, we shouldn't have a relationship anymore." The next day, Addison packed her things and left my boudoir. I am upset that my girlfriend left me. Now I blame my sister for her stupid advice. I could have continued to tolerate Addison and lived with her. Now I am alone and have no one. Aubrey says she helped me get rid of the parasite, and I'm angry with her for that. I think Aubrey is to blame for my divorce from Addison. Gabriel, I don't think you should have blamed your sister. You had your own head and emotions when you talked to Addison. The fact that you are no longer together can be good for you. Just imagine how much money you'll be able to spend on important things and not have to worry about your money disappearing without a trace. In general, you are very weak and allowed Addison to use you. You knew it, but you were attached to Addison, so you were willing to tolerate her manipulations. It's similar to when victims start to like the abuser. Your girlfriend would have been a terrible wife and mother. Your children would have grown up to be like Addison because she would have raised them. Believe me, it hurts right now that you're going through a divorce, but in the long run, it will only be good for you. Julian, Addison's attitude towards finances in a relationship is not just unreasonable, but negligent. Relationships are built on mutual respect and shared responsibility, including financial responsibility. Addison's refusal to contribute her share shows that she is primarily interested in her own comfort and convenience, not in the well-being of the partnership. It is very important for couples to discuss money openly and honestly, regardless of whether it's about budgeting, paying bills, or planning for the future. These conversations are crucial to maintaining a harmonious and balanced relationship. Addison's unwillingness to engage in these discussions not only puts an undue burden on her partner, but also undermines the trust and cooperation necessary for a healthy relationship. Your sister was right, and you should have acted much sooner. Ellie, your sister, Aubrey, should not be blamed for Addison's decision to leave you. Aubrey's advice was practical and aimed at solving a growing problem in the relationship. Relationships require effort and compromise on both sides, and refusing to discuss financial responsibilities can be a sign of a more serious problem. Addison's immediate choice to leave rather than engage in a constructive conversation indicates a lack of commitment and an unwillingness to work to resolve problems. Addison's accusation that the narrator wants to use her as a bank reflects a lack of understanding of the situation. You aren't trying to exploit Addison as she thinks you are. Instead, you are trying to establish an honest and fair financial relationship. In any partnership, it is reasonable to expect that both partners will contribute according to their abilities. Addison's willingness to jump to conclusions without careful discussion indicates a lack of patience and a tendency to view relationships through a negative lens. Judging by the story, you were a daddy to her and nothing more, a story that really surprised me. My wife started cheating on me a year ago, and now Stella and I are divorced and have nothing in common. I never thought she would betray me and my feelings. It all started with very simple things. Stella works as a bookkeeper in a regular office. Of course, there are a lot of other men working there because the company is big and there are about 300 people at work. I started to notice that Stella was extremely distracted by phone notifications. I did not attach any importance to this. One day, Stella put her phone on the couch and went to take a shower. I was sitting and watching a TV show at the same time. In 13 minutes, Stella received about 11 messages on her phone. I could not stand it and decided to mute her phone. By chance, I saw that her last message was from a certain Anthony. "So are you going to come with me or not?" I didn't look through all the messages, but I was worried about who this guy was writing to my wife so much. I was pretty sure it wasn't her brother or a close friend. When Stella came out of the bathroom, I told her that she had received a lot of messages on her phone. While Stella was reading all the messages, I asked her, "Are you planning to go out tonight?" Stella said, "My manager called me to meet with him to discuss the financial situation for the past 2 months." Stella went to the meeting and was gone for more than 5 hours. It was very confusing for me. 2 months later, I noticed a guy dropping my wife off at my house. I asked Stella who it was because I had never seen the man before. Stella said, "It's my main manager for whom I do a lot of work." I asked her, "Why didn't you drive to work in our car?" Stella said, "Anthony picked me up in the morning, so there was no need to drive my own car." I was very surprised and started to get aggressive. I started arguing because my wife was getting in the car with some guy named Anthony, and it didn't matter that he was her boss. Stella asked me to calm down and not to get angry over such nonsense. The next week, I kept an eye on my wife. Stella sent a lot of messages to someone every day. When I asked who you were texting with, Stella said, "I was texting my friend." One day, I had the opportunity to log into my wife's social media. I know it's immoral for some people, but the situation was getting very negative. I saw that Stella was writing to her boss every day. Only 5% of their conversation was about work. Anthony often invited my wife to a cafe or just to go to the park. To my even greater surprise, Stella never turned him down. That's how a guy from my wife's work became more than a boss to Stella. When she came into the room, I told Stella that I knew everything about her and Anthony. She tried to prove me wrong. I told her to go away, and I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. Guess who Stella went to live with right after these events? That's right, she moved in with that asshole Anthony, who Stella said a few weeks ago is just her boss. I'm very upset that I went through such a heavy betrayal. My ex-wife is a fool. I don't know how to come to terms with the loss yet. My friends tried to support me and said that Stella was not worthy of a cool guy like me. Some of my friends work in the same office as Stella. They would leave messages for her on her desk, saying what an idiot and a goat she was. I had plans to have kids with Stella and go on vacation this summer, but now my life is partially ruined. Am I doing the right thing now, sitting here thinking about a possible future with Stella that will never be real? Jackson, Stella's actions throughout this story are deeply reprehensible. Her decision to cheat on her husband and lie about her relationship with Anthony shows not only a lack of respect for the marriage, but also a disregard for her husband's feelings and trust. Infidelity can have devastating emotional consequences for a partner, causing immeasurable pain, betrayal, and insecurity. The fact that she decided to have a romantic relationship with someone else while married indicates a serious violation of trust and commitment. Stella's dishonesty and manipulation are evident when she repeatedly downplays her relationship with Anthony, claiming that he is just her boss or friend. Her secrecy and refusal to communicate honestly with her husband demonstrate a complete lack of transparency and respect in their relationship. I'm really glad you got rid of her, because you don't know how many times Stella cheated on you. Maybe this was not her first affair. Don't regret it, just find another girl. Natalie, it's disappointing to see Stella's willingness to leave her marriage and move in with Anthony so quickly. Her quick decision to leave without trying to resolve the problems in the marriage, it shows a lack of commitment and responsibility for her actions. Instead of facing the consequences of her choice, she chose to run away from the situation, leaving her husband to deal with the emotional consequences, which is a very disgusting and unpleasant situation. While being cheated on is a painful experience, seeking solace in revenge or spreading derogatory messages about Stella to friends is not a constructive way to deal with it. Is not a constructive way to deal with the situation. This behavior may bring temporary relief, but it will not lead to healing or a solution. Instead, it is important to focus on healing and moving forward, seeking support from friends or a therapist, or perhaps introspection and self-improvement can help you get through this difficult period and eventually find a way out of the situation. Of course, your wife is to blame for this situation because Stella did not set boundaries in her communication with Anthony. Now those consequences have taken their toll. My next story. Not long ago, I started living together with my girlfriend Nora. We have been dating for 7 months, and now we can try to live together. I live in a private house and have a big territory. I also work and pay the mortgage for the house. My parents partially helped me pay for the house. My brother married his wife and had to give me his 2 pet rabbits and a cat because my brother's wife is allergic to wool. This became known not so long ago, which is why his animals started living with me. I am very fond of pets and often play with them. I don't need a computer or a game console to have a good time. If I get bored, I can play with my cat, or I can take the rabbits outside and watch how they behave. It's always interesting for me to watch the rabbits run around on the lawn and eat the fruit I gave them. My brother knew very well about my love for animals, so he didn't worry about their condition. Only a few times a month he could come to my place to check on his animals. My girlfriend doesn't like animals that much and constantly tells me to pay more attention to her than to the animals. I think that Nora is just jealous of me for the animals. Nora thinks it's better for me to spend 20 minutes with my cat before going to work than talking to my favorite girl. I always deny this and tell Nora that I love her more than animals. Nora started to pester me and said, "Remember last week when I called you and asked you to take a little walk with me during my break at work?" I replied, "It was like a few days ago." Nora continued her story. "I waited for you all afternoon, and then you texted me. Honey, I started cleaning the rabbit cage and thought I'd get it done quickly. Then I saw they were hungry and started making a salad. When I made them the salad, I realized that I was hungry and forgot about your request, so I won't come to you today. I told my girlfriend, Nora, it was just one time, but you keep saying that as if it's a regular thing. She said, have you forgotten what happened 3 weeks ago? You sat outside for 2 hours watching rabbits. When I asked you to help me put the books away, you said you didn't have time. 20 minutes later, I went outside and saw you building rabbit holes out of old boxes and making them jump over the boxes. I told her that it was a really important activity for me at that moment. Nora got mad at me and we started fighting. Nora's friends say it about me, If I have a choice to save my girlfriend or my cat, I'll choose the cat. I don't admit it and always say they are wrong. I'm really interested in being with animals, but that doesn't mean I don't care about Nora, although it is very difficult for her to prove it. Last week, my brother Dylan, who is the owner of all the animals, came to visit. We had a great time talking outside while watching the rabbits. My girlfriend joined us and started saying all kinds of crazy things to my brother. Dylan was a bit shocked by Nora's behavior. My girlfriend started blaming my brother for ruining our personal life with his animals. Nora also said that I was disgusted with her and that I was more happy to spend time with the animals. I asked Nora to stop ruining our evening, but she wouldn't shut up and kept saying that I should marry a cat. I took her hand and we went inside. Nora told me, "Your brother needs to know the truth." I told her, "You're making a bigger deal out of it." Nora said, "Okay, if I am wrong, tell your brother to find another place for his animals, because I'm not going to take it anymore. You have to make a choice. Either I live with you, or your animals will become your girlfriend." I told my girlfriend she shouldn't say that. In the end, I told Nora that I would not leave the animals behind. She was very angry with me and wouldn't talk to me until I completely resolved the issue with the animals. I promised Nora that I would spend more time with her, but Nora doesn't believe me and keeps saying that the animals in our house are only harming us. I really don't want to lose the animals and the girl. Maybe she is partly right about me. Lily, I can understand both sides. On the one hand, you genuinely love animals, and they have been a part of your life for a long time. On the other hand, your girl Nora clearly wants more attention from you, and she feels neglected. Perhaps it's time to sit down with Nora and have a frank conversation. You may both have to make some compromises. You may have to prove to Nora that she is a priority in your life as well, because her words carry a lot of weight. The fact that you do much more for animals than for a girl scares me. If you really love Nora, you should show her more love. I think with this kind of relationship, one of you will say in a moment that you don't want to be together anymore. Don't let your relationship with Nora end because of a pet, or rather, because of your attitude toward pets. Eleanor, you're being an idiot. I'm sorry to see that the narrator repeatedly puts animals first, rather than his girlfriend's feelings. Although love for animals is wonderful, relationships require compromise and understanding. Nora's concerns are justified, and the narrator's actions and excuses are reasonable. Like forgetting important plans for the sake of rabbits, they demonstrate a lack of attention to her. In order to maintain a healthy and loving relationship, it is important to balance your own interests with the needs of your partner. In this story, the narrator seems to be failing in this regard. Your girlfriend should leave an asshole like you. If you want to live with animals for the rest of your life, that's your choice. Your girlfriend says many times that she doesn't see any signs of love from you, and you start to prove to her with words that you do love her, but your actions don't show that you love Nora. Now I want to tell a different story. Now I am 24 years old and have my own family, job, and children. Everything is like most people in our country. Even though I have several $1,000,000 on my balance sheet, I still work a typical job and I don't brag about it to anyone. The same cannot be said about my sister. The fact is that my mother and her brother started their own business a long time ago. It was related to various parts for machinery, like cars or parts for tools. My mom left me and my sister accounts worth $3 million each when Hannah and I were 22 years old. The moment we hit 30, Hannah and I are to receive $1 million each. But I don't want to spend that money, and I want to do my own business, which will also provide for me for the rest of my life. My parents set a great example for me. My sister Hannah, on the other hand, decided that she didn't need it and that she could spend all her money rationally for the rest of her life. I immediately told Hannah that this was complete nonsense. She didn't believe me and started spending her inheritance little by little. The last time I warned my sister-in-law was when she bought herself an $80,000 car. Hannah said it would be her only car for life, so it had to look good. Hannah's boyfriend quickly quit his job, and they started living together at Hannah's expense. Just 3 months after my sister got access to her money, Hannah spent 20% of the total amount, while I was starting my own business and investing my free money there. My sister went out to bars and vacationed. in the best hotels with her boyfriend Grayson. In 1 year, my sister spent $2 million out of 3. Hannah bought only a small apartment and a car out of her valuables. All the rest of the money went on vacation and various things she didn't need. Hannah bought many things. That cost tens of thousands of dollars. This annoyed me because I realized that with this attitude to life, Hannah would quickly spend everything and live on the street or in her car. Things got much worse for Hannah when she became pregnant and had little money left. Considering that my sister's little baby needs a lot of things, Hannah's remaining funds went to work very quickly. She had enough money to buy everything she needed for the baby, and $40,000 by the time we were in our second year. We had $3 million. My sister spent almost all of her inheritance in less than 2 years. When my mom found out about it, she was not happy with the way Hannah used her inheritance. Then I found out that my sister-in-law had asked our mother for financial help. Of course, my mother did not refuse her daughter, who was pregnant and had no money. Grayson didn't start looking for a job and hoped that his mother-in-law would provide funds for their family. So for the next time, my sister's family lived at my mom's expense. I went to see her on Saturday and decided to talk about it. At that moment, my dad was also at home, so I could talk to them right away. My mom didn't agree with what I said, that she shouldn't finance Hannah anymore. I said that by giving money to Hannah and her husband, you are provoking them to adapt to a parasitic lifestyle. Grayson, being in such a difficult situation, did not even start looking for a job. He just waits for you, mom or dad, to send them $10,000 every month. And you've been doing that for 4 months now. Hannah is to blame for not being able to spend her money wisely. My dad said I was being too harsh about my sister, and I should respect their help for my sister. I don't agree with my dad. Hannah is using my parents, and they knowingly agreed to it. None of my warnings have been taken seriously by them. My parents think I am rude and impulsive. A few more months passed, and the situation did not change at all. My family continues to give money to Hannah. Most of the family thinks that I am stupid and want to get money from my parents instead of Hannah. So they are so angry with her, but they don't want to see this fact. My sister lived as she pleased for 2 years, and now everyone supports her. I worked hard for 2 years on my business project and didn't get any support from my parents or relatives. The only thing that annoys me is the unfair treatment. Giving money to Hannah for being poor and having a pregnancy is very stupid in my opinion. 2 years ago, Hannah made her choice, and now she has to pay for it. For this opinion, I am judged by most of my friends and my mother. She says that the most important thing is that her daughter is alive and healthy and can give birth to a beautiful grandchild. I look like an asshole who hates his sister. Probably all the people in the comments will only write how stupid and greedy I am. Levy, in my opinion, the author's frustration with the situation is justified. It is indeed unfair that Hannah, who demonstrates poor financial decision-making and a tendency to rely on her parents for support, continues to receive such support, while the author's hard work and desire for financial independence are largely ignored. This creates a glaring inequality in the way parents treat their children, which is unfair and harmful. If I were you, I would stop paying attention to sister and move on with your life. It may be difficult, but it is the only right decision. Otherwise, you will constantly spoil your mood. By thinking about your sister, Isaac, you are acting rationally by expressing concern about Hannah's habits, spending money, and the parents' willingness to provide financial assistance without addressing the underlying problem. Encouraging this behavior only perpetuates the problem. It allows Anna to avoid responsibility for the consequences of her actions. It is reasonable to expect parents to encourage responsibility and self-sufficiency and not reinforce dependence, and they will be loyal to your sister's mistakes. Hannah's inability to manage her finances and her habit of relying on her parents. It's a shame to see them bail her out, especially when it contrasts with your responsible efforts, the ones aimed at building a secure future. It's a shame to see someone squander a financial gift. Your parents will eventually realize that they made a big mistake. Your sister does not deserve the good things she has. Next story. The story is about my brother who divorced his wife. After 17 years of marriage, Jackson started dating Zoe in college at the age of 20. Since then, they have lived happily together and have been through a lot together. It seems to me that their family has had every situation imaginable. Zoe is not the calmest girl, and sometimes she would lose her temper and have big fights with Jackson. Sometimes things got so bad that my brother would call me to babysit his kids while they were fighting. The strange thing about this is that the next day Jackson and Zoe would act as if nothing had happened between them yesterday. Over time, their quarrels would become meaningless, and Zoe would start blaming my brother for all the problems. Even minimal quarrels would turn into something big. More than once, Jackson could come to my house to spend the night because Zoe started to behave unbearably. 2 years ago, it turned out that Zoe was having an affair with another guy, and my brother became her backup. When this came to Jackson's attention, he filed for divorce from Zoe. They got joint custody of the children and had to look after them. I don't know why, but Zoe was only aggressive towards my brother. She never had a conflict with anyone. I thought during the first years of their marriage that Zoe was the sweetest girl, but time showed me what Zoe was really like and what my brother had to endure. My brother and Zoe have a very complicated relationship. They have had no contact with each other since the divorce. My brother remarried another girl named Leah. She had a young son of her own who was only 6 years old. By the way, my brother and Zoe had 2 children together. The oldest is Lincoln, who is currently 16 years old. The younger girl, she's 13 years old now. The relationship between parents and children in my brother's family is not that bad. Jackson brings up his own children well and tries to be a good dad to them. As for Zoe, she also takes care of the children and has never had any problems with them. A month ago, my brother had a very conflicting situation with Zoe over their son Lincoln. He was celebrating that his team had won a basketball tournament, and that guaranteed rewards from the school. Lincoln was supposed to go on a small tour with his team for 1 week to visit the best schools in our state. Lincoln was very happy about this event, so he wanted to spend the day with his parents, who were supporting him. Lincoln has a good relationship with Zoe and Jackson, so they got an invitation to the party. My brother was stubborn as a sheep and didn't want to go to his son's party because Zoe was supposed to be there with her new boyfriend. Jackson explained to his son that he would not be able to attend his victory celebration. It took Lincoln a long time to convince his dad to put aside his arguments with Zoe and come to the party. But my brother has a nasty temper. If Jackson decides something and thinks it's right, no one in the world can prove to him that it's wrong or stupid. He and I inherited that from his dad. Lincoln was very angry with his dad for his indifference. My nephew told his mom about it. Zoe would not stand for it from Jackson and decided to settle the situation because she doesn't like it when someone spoils the mood of her children. Even though Zoe has a strange personality, she is always ready to protect her children. Zoe called Jackson from her son's phone. She started to scold Jackson for not wanting to go to his son's party. Jackson told her personally that he would not tolerate her at that party. A big fight started between them. Zoe claimed that my brother was behaving worse than a child. Since then, Lincoln doesn't want to talk to his dad and thinks he's a jerk. Jackson tells me my son will be offended for a while, but then he will understand. I told Jackson that's not true and he needs to apologize to Lincoln. However, my brother would not listen to me and lost all respect from his son. In my opinion, Jackson acted like a jerk to his son, Joshua. I believe that Jackson's refusal to attend his son Lincoln's victory celebration because of the presence of his ex-wife Zoe and her new boyfriend. It is a clear example of him putting personal grievances above the happiness of his son. This behavior is not only selfish, but also extremely harmful to his son's well-being. Celebrating a significant milestone in a child's life should be a moment of unity and joy for the entire family, regardless of any past conflicts. Jackson's decision to prioritize his own discomfort over his son's happiness is not only disappointing, but also indicative of a lack of emotional maturity. It is deeply troubling that Jackson is allowing his personal issues with Zoe to influence his decisions and actions as a parent. Co-parenting, especially after a divorce, requires both parties to put aside their differences and focus on what is best for their children. Jackson's refusal to come to the celebration sends a negative message to Lincoln, implying that his father's personal grudges are more important than supporting his accomplishments. With this attitude, your brother could really lose all good relations with his son. Christopher, it's very important for parents to be open to communication and willing to admit when you've made a mistake. Jackson's inability to take responsibility for his actions and his unwillingness to repair his relationship with Lincoln further destroys their bond. Instead of demonstrating his love and support during an important event in his son's life, Jackson has chosen to isolate himself and in turn isolate Lincoln from participating in having a good dad. While Zoe's approach to handling the situation may not have been ideal, her motivation to protect her children's happiness is commendable. It is very important for parents to temporarily put their differences aside to celebrate their child's accomplishments together. Zoe's decision to intervene and encourage Jackson to participate in the celebration shows her commitment to creating a positive environment for her children. Despite her own disagreements with Jackson, she puts Lincoln's emotional well-being and happiness first. It seems that in this situation, only Zoe is acting like a man because your brother is behaving in a very pathetic way.